Magdalene's blog 44. Ariane bowed her head and left the room, leaving me with Bilal. If I or any of the spirits might have thought she was vulnerable now, one glance at the curved blade of silver that had appeared in her hand should have dissuaded resistance. "Sit down there," she ordered, pointing the blade at the chair against one wall. The spirits were not fond of being ordered around, and had no care for my physical safety. I sensed that they wanted to try the High Priestess's mettle. The darkest one took the lead, building on the fear that I was drenched in. "Don't prattle at us, Bilal. We know you are but hot air." Bilal moved forward, her hand clenched around the handle of the knife pointing at my chest. "Azrael, stay quiet, or I shall bind you with chains of fire." She seemed to have made her point. The devil spirits backed away. When Ariane returned, a few long minutes of tension had passed. She was hastily pushing a sealed letter into a side flap of a bag that clearly contained some of her own travelling clothes. She took my arm, and between her and the temple's eunuch guard Bokka, they guided me to where Gaius was stood outside the northeastern gate, beside a donkey. It was not a temple donkey, and I do not know where Gaius got it. Maybe she was his own. What I could understand at the time was that I was being torn away from the place that had been my home for several years. An outcast that no one would want to know, and with nowhere to go, to belong. Bokka walked with me and the donkey that had been loaded with some provisions. I could hear him repeating something, and he was glancing sideways at me every few seconds, but he stayed steadfastly with me all the way to the camel park. There he spoke for a few minutes to the trainmaster, getting me accepted as a trail follower. I was managing to remain impassive, and the spirits could do no more than jabber inanely in my head, making thoughts of every unpleasant kind. I knew that if I struggled with them, they would use that against me. "I have told him you're a bit simple, but are going to Astarte's temple entire. You must—" he trailed off, knowing there was nothing he could say. But he kissed me on the top of my head and whispered in my ear, "The anchor protects you, Coptic Egyptian." Then touchingly he gave me a hug, and there were tears in his eyes as he released me. Earlier at the temple's gate, Ariane had also hugged me tearfully, and for a second I had lost the slim control I had of myself. But the sisterly love I felt for my friend was not something that the spirits could use immediately to their advantage. Ariane had sensed the danger, and she let me go quickly, reaching into the pouch of the bag she had given me. "Here, this is a brown travelling cloak that will do you well." Belle had told me that I'd have no green priestess cloak. Then Ariane pulled out the letter she had written and turned towards me, her face intense and serious. "Magdalene," she commanded my attention. No mistake could be afforded. I stood before her. "What?" I answered glumly. "Take this letter to the temple in Tyre and ask for the priestess Rachel. There is another Rachel as well that will help you. This letter explains it, so you must keep it safe above all else. Do you understand?" I nodded. She made me put it in the safety of the pocket of my inner garment. Then she hugged me very quickly, turned and went back inside the temple. The shock of her going nearly unhinged me again. Bleakness was all that was left. As the donkey I rode upon followed the caravan out through the city walls, the bleakness was the best of what was left to me. The rest I didn't want to know.